Wisconsin football team as a consistent home run hitter in that offense. We'll get a chance to break him down a little bit later on in the show. So lots to get to today. Let's start off, first of all, with Justin Herbert. This is a very, very intriguing player with size, arm strength, a lot of talent. I'm going to get into my report on him and my evaluation on him in just a moment. But before I do, I want to share with you some of the interviews we've been able to collect as we did our deep dive homework on Justin Herbert for our 360 audio series on the Move the Sticks podcast. We got a chance to talk to a lot of interesting folks that know Justin Herbert quite well.
I feel comfortable saying that I'm not as introverted as everyone thinks I am, and I love to talk, and unfortunately I'll talk too much sometimes. You don't stop me.
Hey everybody, it's Daniel Jeremiah from Move the Sticks.
And I'm Bucky Brooks, and this is Justin Herbert's 360.
All right, Buck, excited to be joined by Coach Lane Johnson. And Coach, first question from me, when you think back to the first time that you met Justin Herbert or you'd heard of Justin Herbert, what was your first impression?
Well, it was a long time ago because I happened to coach with Justin's dad, Mark, years ago. I was back in Hillsboro, probably been close to 30 years ago or so. So I've known the Herberts, but the first time I saw Justin in action, I was taking my son, who I think was in first grade, and we were walking to our baseball game, and there was a game going on. And my son's the same class, played with Justin, but was not playing baseball with him at the time. Anyway, we're watching this game, and a kid lays down a bunt, and the catcher comes out, throws his mask off, bare hands it, pivots, and throws the kid out at first base. I mean, an unbelievable play for a high school kid. This is a first grader. And I asked somebody who that was, and they said Justin Herbert. So that was my first athletic side of Justin. Big school, Sheldon High School is a pretty big school, and Justin was by far the best football, best basketball, and best baseball player in our school when he was there.
Coach, one of the things we love talking to people about quarterbacks is because all those great ones have that special competitive gene that they just seem to possess. Was there a moment in his career, maybe it could be on the football field or any sport, where you realized, man, okay, this kid is ultra competitive?
Well, he had a real bad injury when he was a junior. And Justin was very under-recruited because he didn't do any of the summer camp stuff. He just wanted to be a Sheldon athlete, and in particular a Sheldon football player. So when he was a junior, he broke his femur, his upper leg, in our first league game.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was a terrible injury. And that would have been September. And he played in a basketball game before Christmas break was over. Now that tells you what kind of competitor a kid is. He missed it so much. He missed all of football, the rest of our football season. We went to the semifinals and played in a basketball game because I watched him play. Yeah, pretty impressive.
What kind of leader was he around your team? How did his teammates feel about Justin?
Well, he very much improved. Justin, and again, I've known him for a long time and actually coached our kids' basketball team that he was on as an 8th grader. And Justin was kind of a baby when he was younger. Even in his freshman and sophomore year in high school, he wasn't a very good leader. I didn't think he was ultra tough. He was not our quarterback as a sophomore in high school, which is kind of incredible. We had a senior, and we didn't think that Justin at the time had done enough to dispose our senior. So he was the JV quarterback as a junior. But as a sophomore. He really improved as a leader, and our kids love him. He's a extremely likable kid, even though he's very confident, very competitive, and all of that stuff. Kids love him, and it was. My son, as a receiver, loved playing with Justin because he put the ball in the money all the time, But overall, if you ask the kids at Sheldon High School around Justin's age, they love him. Yeah, great kid.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for taking some time with us today. I guess my first question would be, what was the first time you saw Justin on the basketball court, and what were your impressions?
Well, I actually got to see Justin when he was younger in middle school playing because his older brother, Mitch, played for us here, and so I was always checking in on the younger crew when they were playing, and so I got to see him in 7th and 8th grade, and even then, he was you could see he was a real fluid, smooth athlete, competitor on the floor, and just, he had that body that moved, that you're like, this guy's going to have something special for him later on athletically.
Are there any basketball stories about him that you recall that stand out to you over his career there, just that tell us maybe a little bit more about him as a person as well as a player?
Yeah, there's a few. One of them is he's a super competitive guy. He I think hates losing as much as he loves winning. And so anytime that we'd scrimmage in practice and we were trying to keep the teams fair, I'd have to stack the other team, whatever team he wasn't on, just to try to keep it close, and somehow his team would still end up winning most of the time. So that was something. He's just a tough kid overall. He took an incredible fall in a game his junior year, got flipped onto his head, and it was a real scary deal where he had a real bad concussion. And just to see him come back from that and keep fighting and playing that season and the next season was really impressive. I mean, it was a bigger hit than he's probably ever taken in football. And it was a scary deal at the time. I know it's scary for him, but for him to come back and keep competing when he was cleared and can fight the next year was pretty special to see in my book.
All right, Coach, thanks so much for taking some time for us today. I guess my first question would be, what was your first experience of being around Justin Herbert, and what were your first impressions of the quarterback?
Well, for the most part, and everybody knows this about Justin, he's a kind of a quiet guy. And so he's hard to read at first. But it's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing to me. He doesn't give away what he's thinking easily. And so when he does speak and when he does communicate with you, it's extremely genuine, usually very insightful, and he doesn't waste words. So, the level of just attention to detail, focus, and respect that he brings to the weight room and the game of football all the time is second to none.
Everything I hear about Justin is that he's embraced the weight room and really attacks it once he gets in there. Just kind of speak to his work ethic once he's around you there in the weight room.
He brings 100% effort and intensity to whatever task that he's completing at the time. And it's actually, it's pretty significant. It's pretty unbelievable, the work ethic that he has, the consistency that he brings. And he's one of the best lifters that we have on the team. He's very proficient with the Olympic lifts. He's very proficient with everything. Honestly, I spent more time holding him back to make sure he was ready for football than I did encouraging him to go hard.
Is there a story or an example of Justin's competitiveness? We see it out there on the field, but maybe how it's translated off the field in your realm?
Yeah, we hit heavy singles the last few weeks of summer training before we started camp, and max effort power clean is not something that I'm interested in seeing from a quarterback, because at the end of the day, that one rep max may or may not make. It's not going to make that quarterback a better quarterback per se. But if he jams his wrist or tweaks his back, whatever, now you're looking at an issue. A position that's not known for contact. Obviously, like, you're going to take some hits occasionally, but the goal is typically to avoid it. Well, the reason we power clean is to prepare our bodies for that contact, for that impact. And so that's not something that I'm 100% dead set on seeing out of a quarterback. So I say, hey, let's stay like today. Let's go 275, 285, whatever. Next thing I look up, he's got 325 on the bar, and he's crushing his last rep. So I'm coming down from the other end of the weight room, and he wants to do what everyone else is doing. He doesn't want to be treated different. He doesn't want to be treated like he's special. He just wants to compete with his teammates and earn his spot, on the team as a leader through the work that he puts in.
I guess my first question for you would be, you step on that Oregon campus for the first time. When did you come in contact with Justin Herbert, and how did you guys develop the relationship that you have now?
Right when he got on campus during that summer, everyone kind of felt his presence. And honestly, no one really expected that. He was a smaller guy, not physically, but didn't have that many offers coming in. And he honestly came in that summer, started throwing with the ones, and he just kind of tore it up. So we kind of knew that he was a special kid right away. And And yeah, I mean, it was just awesome to see what he's really turned into.
I want to go fast forward a little bit to this the summer coming into this past season. You guys, bring a lot of players back. Obviously, a lot of experience along your offensive line there. But he's the captain of the ship. And then to go from where you guys were in 18, what took place in the offseason in the summer, and what was said between you guys that led to such a huge year this year with you guys capping it off in the Rose Bowl?
We needed the quarterback who was going to, man the ship, who was going to control everything. And, Justin really worked on that. And Justin really did that really well during that summer. And I definitely think that was a huge part of our success.
Probably the most important question, Brady, as a roommate. I mean, is he a slob? Is he sloppy? Is he neat and tidy? Like, what are we getting here with a roommate in Justin Herbert?
Justin is, he is a straight edge dude. I mean, he keeps everything tight. I mean, obviously, you hear about his academics. He's, over a 4.0 academic guy. You don't get a sloppy dude when you get over 4.0. So, he's definitely the most organized kid I've ever seen. I wish I was more organized like him. I mean, you walk in, you got everything just like tucked away, labeled off. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I would not label him a slob at all.
It's been quite the marathon for you. Obviously, you finish up the regular season, you go to the Senior Bowl, then you have the Combine, then you have your Pro Day. What were some of the things you wanted to show along the way?
I just wanted to be myself. I wanted to go out there and have fun, compete, and get better. And there's so much that I can do to get better. And I just wanted to give teams an actual representation of myself and go out there and have fun.
We saw the ball jump off your hand, not a surprise today. We see it every time we see you throw. I thought there was improvements footwork-wise, even from what we saw at the Combine to what we saw today. What have you and John Beck been working on?
A whole lot. Like I said, these past 3 months are the first time I've ever taken a snap from under center. And so it's something I've got to work on, and the deep ball and just some mechanics that I never had fixed. Never had a good quarterback coach like that. So just a lot of things that I can learn and pick up on.
And thinking about that, we made the comment that it seems like you're very, very comfortable dealing with play action, throwing off play action, throwing in rhythm. How comfortable are you when it comes to throwing off play action with the ball fakes and the like?
I've really enjoyed our play action stuff that we ran at the University of Oregon. We emphasize that a lot, and I've always felt really comfortable with it, and the guys that we've had running the route. So I've really enjoyed doing that at Oregon.
How has the process been leading up to the Pro Day? I know as teams come in here, they try and get you for meetings and spend some time with you. Take us a little bit behind the scenes there. What goes on? I think people think you just come here and throw at a pro day. It's a lot more than that over the last few days.
Yeah, it's I didn't know about that, so it's something I've had to figure out. And they just want to get to know you. They want to get to know all about you, what you do off the field, how you're going to handle yourself on the field. So it's a lot of meetings, a lot of time spent with people, and getting to know a lot of people.
You don't have to tell us the teams that you met with, but did one of them have a fish on the side of the helmet at all?
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. So now, this is a little bit up in the air right now with what's going on with this whole process. Do you have any idea what the future holds for you as we go from here towards the draft?
I'm going to be training, getting better, weightlifting, running, and that's about all I know at this point.
It's interesting because a lot of the things that take place during this process go behind the scenes, the interviews, meeting one-on-one with teams and executives. How has that part of the process been for you?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a learning experience, and it's something that I didn't know about going into this, and so it's a chance for me to go live an experience that I've always wanted to do, and I've always wanted to play quarterback and play football for as long as I can, and not a whole lot of people get to go through this, so it's been fun, and I've done my best to just get better every day and to always do my best. Is
there anybody you've paid attention to at the NFL level that you've looked at and said, okay, this is a path for me to follow here going forward? Is there a player you've looked at in that regard?
I think Marcus Mariota is one of those guys that I've always looked up to, especially with him being from Oregon, and I think he's such a great human being, such a great football player, and the way he handles himself on and off the football field is something I really look up to.
It's funny that you mentioned Marcus because there's some people who talk about maybe your reserved demeanor. When you've had meetings with teams, has that come up about maybe kind of a quiet, non-demonstrative style?
Yeah, that's always a question that comes up, but I don't know if it's very accurate. I think you ask a lot of the guys around here, around the facility, they'll tell you otherwise. And I feel comfortable saying that I'm not as introverted as everyone thinks I am, and I love to talk, and unfortunately I'll talk too much sometimes. You don't stop me.
We had a chance to talk with your roommate the other day, and first of all, he said you're very clean and very tidy. You do a nice job, and I'm getting the sense maybe he's not. Is that, first of all, can you tell me that's a fact?
He does a good job. I mean, he does
offensive lineman, man. Yeah. You got to be careful there. Yeah. But what he said, and a little bit what Bucky's talking about, I think from the outside people say, okay, this guy's reserved, but I hear you've got like a real sneaky good sense of humor. So what don't people know that aren't around you? You talk to your roommate, talk to the coaches here. They said this guy's actually one of the funniest guys on the team.
I would say I'm pretty goofy. I don't know if it's funny. I think it's kind of weird sometimes, and I just think it's funny to be around these guys, and I talk a lot more than everyone thinks I do, and I'm not as shy and reserved. I am neat though. I do take care of my room.
Yeah, he said you like label. We have labeling going on inside the room.
Not quite.
Okay, he was getting you a little more credit.
That's extra. But.
Yeah.
So, look, you played 3 sports in high school. Basketball and baseball were also sports that you dabbled in. How did those sports help you when it comes to playing quarterback?
Competition. You're out there competing, you're getting better, and there's a lot of footwork, hand-eye coordination about basketball and baseball that I don't think you get just by specializing in football. So being out there competing with the guys and learning to be a competitor was huge for me.
Last question for you. I appreciate your time, but I know when these teams meet with you, a lot of times they'll say, hey, what separates you from this group? What separates you and makes you the best quarterback in this draft?
I haven't spent too much time comparing myself to the other quarterbacks, but I do feel comfortable saying that I've got a good arm. I pride myself on preparation. I do my best to always go into a game knowing exactly what they're doing, what we're going to do. And I've always really enjoyed playing quarterback, competing, being a leader, and these are all things that I feel really comfortable answering.
Last thing here before I let you go, I lied. One more question. David Lee, the quarterback coach of the Dolphins, came over and said something to you before you went and uncorked a couple of those deep balls. What did he say to you?
He asked me what yard line I think he should stand on, and he said he was going to stand on the 50. And I kind of chuckled because I thought I was going to throw it farther than that. And, we kind of both laughed at that.
Yeah, you got 14 more yards than at the 50 there.
I hope you got a chance to really get to know Justin Herbert as we did listening and watching those interviews, because themes start to come out of what he is as a human being and as a football player, and somebody that's very steady, very dependable, very reliable player. All right, now it's time for FedEx Rising Air and Ground Stars. And coming out of those interviews with folks around Justin Herbert and talking to Justin Herbert himself, I thought it'd be interesting just to give you my take on the Oregon signal caller. This is somebody that I love the boxes he checks. You look at his size, arm strength, athleticism, intelligence, work ethic, all those boxes Justin Herbert checks. Now, when you study him on the tape as a quarterback, the things that he still needs to work on. This is somebody I want to just see him cut it loose. He's got tremendous arm strength and arm talent, but there are times where he tries to guide the football. He can be almost a little bit robotic at times. I want to see him just kind of let you loose. Just let it go. Be a little more natural, a little more fluid, and really let the ball rip. I think part of the issue was the number of drop passes. They had a lot of injuries at the receiver position this past season. So that led to him guiding the football a little bit. That's an area Justin Herbert can improve at the next level. But somebody I feel is in play when you look at picks 5 and 6 with the Miami Dolphins at 5, the Chargers at 6. I think in all likelihood, that's where we see Justin Herbert go. And now somebody with a wide range of variants of where he could go in this draft. And I've even mentioned it. This is a player that keeps me up at night, because if we look back 5 years from now and I say, man, I was too low on this player, this is the name that comes into my mind constantly, and that's Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts. Bucky Brooks, my pal, my partner here on Move the Sticks, had a chance to visit with Jalen at the Combine. Here's that conversation.
Join the Move the Sticks podcast. We have my man, University of Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts. How's everything going?
It's going well. Can't complain. Blessed to be here and be able to be on this stage. It's all a blessing.
Look, man, everyone wanted to see you on this stage. Obviously, people that question whether you could pass them or what kind of thrower you were. It seemed like the workout went really well. How did you feel about your performance?
It's something I've done all my life. And just coming out here, showcasing my ability to make all those throws while being able to move around and run. Just putting it all together, I think that's what separates me from everyone else and makes me the dynamic player I am, quarterback.
So one of the things that everyone talks about, they talk about your leadership skills, and knew that you would kill it in the interviews. How was that process when it came to dealing with the teams and interviewing and the like?
I think it was cool. Just being able to learn different perspectives. You know, of course, everybody's questioning you. Has all these approaches to you and how they talk to you and stuff, but needless to say, I think they went well. Like I said, it's all a blessing to even be able to do that. Nobody in my family's been in my shoes, so for me to kind of set that for my little cousins to come and generations to come, it's a special deal.
So, man, there's so many people that view you as such a role model. The way that you handled yourself, running 2 different programs, Alabama and Oklahoma, the intangible qualities that you put on display. Where does that come from? Like being able to be a pro at such a young age.
You know, I always say at a young age I was introduced to so much. Coach's kid, 5, 6, 7 years old. You know, I'm emulating everything the older guys are doing. These seniors and juniors in high school, and while I was around them so much, I learned the good and the bad habits. You know, I saw the good things and the bad things, and I made a decision at a young age in elementary that I was going to try and do the good things. I was going to try and set the right example, and compete in everything that I did.
You know, in terms of being the ultimate competitor, man, you're one of the best that I've ever seen as a college player in terms of being a young player, be an SEC Offensive Player of the Year, take your team to the national championship game. I mean, sure, you're Deshaun Watson series away from winning the national title as a freshman. Go back to next year, you guys win it. You made plays your 3rd year and the like. There's a lot of resiliency that you've displayed throughout your career. When it comes to playing quarterback, so much of that is how do you respond to critical situations. Where does that grit, that toughness come from?
I responded to those critical situations and I guess unprecedented situations my whole entire career and my whole life. Just being able to weather the storm and, you know, giving thanks to my parents, my family, my upbringing, everybody whom I've been able to be around, the different coaches I've had, they've all had a pivotal role in who I am as a player and as a man. So it's a collective number of things that go together, but it's come a long way, and I'm hungrier than ever for more.
Unique perspective, because you talk about coaches and influence. So I want to ask you about the last 2 coaches that you had. One, I want to talk to you about Nick Saban and the process and what you learned from that experience. And then I want to follow it up with learning from Alabama, going to Oklahoma, a transfer, and putting it all together under Lincoln Riley. So first about Nick Saban and what you learned with the process.
Yeah, not many people are able to say those things, you know, having Coach Saban. I mean, I chose to go to the University of Alabama because I feel like me and Coach Saban were alike, more alike than people realize in terms of our competitive nature, how we handle our business, our approach, and getting stuff done. And going to Oklahoma and having a different type of coach with a different approach, I'm very thankful to be under him and to have gone over him and even learned from the other 2 guys from film and stuff. And he's just kind of allowed me to be decisive and, you know, just different approaches, different coaching points, and all were helpful.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. So now you go to the National Football League, you have another coach. How have those experiences, multiple offensive coordinators, all the different change and stuff that you had to endure while still being expected to play at a high level, how would that help you at the next level?
Yes, I think it's definitely an asset. I try and use it as an asset. Being around all those coaches, being able to adjust with everyone, being able to win championships with everyone. It's a special deal, and it's not something that's often occurring. So I hope, you know, the right people recognize that, and hopefully I can be able to make my mark on the game.
Option to the right, and Hurts fakes the pitch and scores the touchdown. Jalen Hurts with his 2nd rushing touchdown today.
I can't let you go without asking you about winning. So much of the quarterback position, people will talk about arm talent, passing ability, running ability, but ultimately quarterbacks are judged by the ability to win. What have you discovered in terms of the secret sauce that enables you to get your team consistently to the winner's circle?
You know, everybody asks me about leadership. How were you able to do this with this team, do that with that team? I think the biggest reason was I was able to be myself. I went in there. I understand that it's earned, not given. They're not supposed to follow me just because of who I am or whatever that is. It don't work like that. So just trying to build relationships with everybody, kind of learn the lay of the land, and fill everybody out and just work hard and set the right example. Because one thing I do know is you can't be a hypocrite at the quarterback position, and you can't be a hypocrite as a leader. And you got to practice what you preach. So I just try and do that, be a man of integrity in how I move, and try and do right.
Man, we're expected to see you do great things at the next level. Continue to do right, man. Blessings will flow. Thanks so much for joining the program, Jalen Hurts.
Thank you.
Well, as you can tell, Jalen Hurts He is all business. Those would be the 2 words. You give me 2 words to describe him, all business. And I think he's ready to tackle this next challenge as he goes to the next level. Fit is going to be incredibly important with him, but I think he's got a chance to be a productive starting quarterback in this league. As for a FedEx Rising Ground star, Jonathan Taylor is an interesting running back to keep an eye on in this draft class because he has a unique blend. You talk about size-speed combination. When you're 226 pounds and you run 4.39, that's not normal. That is very rare when you look at that combination. And when you study him, you see somebody that the speed is real. It plays. If he can get a crease, if he breaks a tackle at the line of scrimmage, gets out in the open field, he is gone. Now, he's a little bit more of a linear runner, as I would describe him. He's going to be more sudden than shifty or elusive. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss in space, but once he gets a crease, the speed is so legit that he's going to run right by a lot of folks. Now, what can he do in the passing game? He catches the ball well. They primarily use him in the screen game. There's not a lot of exotic routes they're going to ask him to run there at Wisconsin. His hands are good, not great. He's consistent. I think there's area for growth as he gets more experience as a pass catcher. I think you can see him be more involved. As a pass protector, it's very interesting because there's only 32 reps. He only had 32 pass protection reps this last season at Wisconsin, so that's a very small number. But he was very effective and very efficient, especially as a cut blocker. So he's shown he can do it. He just doesn't have a lot of experience in it. So there's going to be some development needs to take place for Jonathan Taylor in the passing game, but the upside is tremendous. That was FedEx Rising Air and Ground Stars. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. It's fun to take a deep dive look at some of these players. And if you enjoyed the snippets of those conversations around Justin Herbert, you're going to want to check out the Justin Herbert 360 podcast, which is now available to download. It's just the Move the Sticks podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. And you'll hear the long-form interviews we've done with everybody around Justin Herbert, as well as Bucky Brooks and myself, analyzing where he best fits and what we expect from him at the next level. We'll also have a couple more episodes coming up on Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow, so be on the lookout for those. Remember, you can find all of our Move the Sticks video content, NFL.com/MTS video, or you can go to the new YouTube channel, youtube.com/NFL podcasts. And once again, if you have questions for us on the audio podcast, we love to answer your questions. Just go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and a review, and in the review section, just drop a question, and we'll be sure to answer it on an upcoming Move the Sticks episode. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time right here on Move the Sticks.